Welcome to the Life of a Marketer podcast. And today I have Rebecca Edwards, who, I just met her today, but from what I have heard about her, is an SEO ninja. So I'm happy to have her on here and ask her some questions about that. Rebecca, I'm going to let you introduce yourself further. Tell us about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name's Rebecca, as you said. I founded a digital marketing agency specific to content-led SEO. We're about 4 years old, so I am our co-founder and CEO. I act as like project manager for a lot of that, but I also do a lot of editing as needed, and I'm our huge SEO nerd that researches all the trends going on and things changing and love analytics and data. I'm kind of all over the place with SEO, but our agency focuses on long form content primarily.
Awesome. Awesome. So tell me the best thing about being in the marketing industry.
It's a good question. So I think the best thing about being in marketing is that my job never gets stale because there's never enough time for things to stay the same for that. So I got into marketing completely unplanned. I was actually in ministry school. Well, I was getting my bachelor's in ministry and psychology. Neither of those sound very much like marketing, although I have a lot of opinions about psychology and marketing. And I started interning in a marketing department for our school. And I just got so inspired by how innovative you can be and how like something that worked a year ago may not work today. And that's fine. Or something that, worked 10 years ago might still work, but it looks really different. And so I like being able to adjust what's going on, like iterating. I like the idea that like marketing is all about iterating and iterating and iterating. And you never totally get to like a perfect project. Like you never get to the perfect way to do something. You can always improve it. You can always figure out how to implement new technologies into it. And so that's my thing about marketing that I just love.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So what sort of advice do you offer to people that are in marketing right now?
Oh, wow. That is a tough one because I think right now when we're talking is like the biggest change in technology that affects marketing that we've probably seen in, I would say, since like the dawn of like daily social media usage. And so with AI is what I'm talking about. But I think one of the best things you can do in marketing right now is to consider how what you're doing affects the end user. And that might sound like advice everybody gives, but that's something that like almost every client that comes to us has had some issue with somebody trying to give them SEO or some kind of other marketing services and focusing on some kind of like hack or like quick win or, something that is interesting or looks good in a spreadsheet or on a chart, but without really considering like who are the people you're actually trying to connect with. And so I think, from TikTok to email marketing to SEO, it has just become really important to focus on building a relationship, whatever that looks like, that feels more one-to-one. People more and more hate content and contact from companies that feels corporate or like stifled. And so I think I would say whatever job you have in marketing, like the best advice I can give you is to like focus on the person that's going to interact with it on a one-to-one level. We do that a lot in our content. We try to drill down really closely to, hey, if I'm writing an article about why am I waking up with headaches every morning? Like I want to know exactly like who I'm talking to, not just like people between 30 and 60 with headaches in the morning. I want to drill down and make it feel like you've called up your friend who's an expert and they're giving you the answer to the question that you have.
Right. Right. Yeah. So definitely you want to, before you do SEO, you might want to have a very specific target persona in place.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that I see that not many SEO companies are actually doing. They're just trying to rank for clicks without really understanding their target persona. That's kind of detrimental, I think.
Yeah, I think
So
I was just to add on to that. I think that as Google gets smarter too, we already see personalized search. So if you're searching for something on Google, they take into consideration like what websites you visit often and things like that to kind of adjust what shows up in search results. And I think that honestly, that's only going to get more precise and more specific. And I think as time goes on, like, and Google is trying to like meet the intent, not just of, the 100,000 people searching for this term every month, but like, okay, 100,000 people search for this and here's the general intent, but like Rebecca is searching for this exact thing. And we know that she really likes these websites. She's a woman, she's this age, she's in this metro or whatever. I think that that's going to continue to be more important. So I think focusing on it is going to future-proof SEO a lot more than people may give it credit for right now.
Wow. That's some valuable insights there. So I'm gonna have to ask you this. I'm sorry.
Okay.
How has AI changed your content generation or content strategy around SEO? I know it's a broad question, but
It is. It's okay. It's a good question. It's like what everyone I follow online is talking about. So it's definitely a good question. And I've avoided talking much about it on Twitter and LinkedIn, where I like kind of chatter a lot, mostly because I think there's a lot of people positioning themselves as experts. So in my opinion, AI is changing the game by making it way more possible to be hyper efficient, reduce costs in content creation, and give people and businesses that don't have huge budgets the opportunity to maybe compete a little bit better. But it offers a lot of problems. So Google, who just released their Bard chatbot this week that I actually have access to, which is super fun. They also have released a content update as of the end of last year that I think there have been updates to in early 2023 that tries to downrank all AI generated content. Now, there is definitely content that ranks as AI generated. I'm watching a lot of people run testing to see like, hey, I'm going to start a website and I'm just going to post AI generated content. I'm not going to touch it and just see how it does. And some of that stuff performs well. But I think that there is, even with GPT-4, which I have been using their chatbot too, even with the upgrade to like the technology, AI still doesn't produce like long form content that has like true expertise or that has like the human touch that I think is necessary for really high quality content. So for example, I've seen a ton of examples of how ChatGPT will spit out an article, and my particular agency works a lot with health and wellness clients. And it'll spit out an article about a topic, say like, why do I wake up with headaches? And it will literally give like scientifically inaccurate information. It doesn't know if it's accurate. And so then I've seen people try to test it and say, hey, can you give me your sources for this, right? And like GPT-3, I know it only has information on the web from like up through 2021. So it wouldn't have any studies that are like 12 months plus old. And but it'll still try to spit out scientific references. They don't exist. It will like make things up to sound like an expert, but they aren't actually things that exist in the real world. So I think there's a lot of like really concerning aspects of saying, like, I'm just going to create articles. I'm just going to, write a bunch of stuff. So AI is also super powerful in a lot of ways that make my life easier though. So I would say those are like the kind of concerning parts, is like inaccuracy, losing a human touch, sounding very like mediocre copy. But on the happy side, I found that it's really great at like, hey, I have this really clunky paragraph a writer sent me. Can you rewrite it? And it takes way less time. I use it a little bit in the outlining process. I don't love the way it outlines, but it's a good like inspiration tool for me. If I say, hey, if I'm writing an article on X topic, what are the headings that I should use, or what are the sections? It can be really good for inspiration there. I've used it a little bit on content strategy, but again, ChatGPT and Bard, like they don't have access to a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush that says, hey, here's kind of our estimate on how many times a month this particular term gets searched, right? And so if you say, can you give me a content strategy around chiropractic care or something like that, it'll spit out a bunch of answers. And some of them, again, they can be really inspiring to say, oh, wow, that's a question we need to answer, or like, that's a topic we really need to cover. But when you actually plug those things into an SEO tool, most of the time, they're not actually like specific terms that have significant search volume. So I think that there's a long way to go. I think combining AI tools like that with, other keyword research tools and research into your customer personas and understanding like what the real needs are of your customer, they can really help. And I think that ChatGPT and things like that can really be beneficial in the editing process. If you're working on trying to change the tone of an article. I know I've seen examples of like, okay, say that again, but like Joe Rogan would say it, you know, and it's so interesting, like the way that it can spit all that out. But obviously it comes with a lot of like it's not there yet. But honestly, if I can make one more comment on that, and kind of going back to the question about offering advice to people in marketing, AI is going to change our businesses. Like in 10 years, my business is not going to look like it looks today because AI is getting smarter every time it's iterated, just like everything else in marketing. And I do think it will get to the point where enough people have been innovative enough to combine the powers of like what we see and what we know right now as AI with like existing tools that say, like, here's what we know. Here's how to make sure it's scientifically accurate. Here's how it can connect with real scientific resources. And here's how it can connect those things with search volumes and keyword research. And so I think that becoming flexible and just being willing to change with the times and not kind of stick in the mud about, oh, I can't use AI. Like Google doesn't want me to use AI. Well, I know why Google doesn't want you to use AI right now. It's too like broad, it's not personal, it's not expertise heavy, but it will be. And so what can we do to like adjust to that and like be on the forefront of the new technology? I think is going to separate agencies that exist today that won't exist 10 years from now versus those who are going to be thriving, you know, over the next decade.
Right. Wow. Thanks for sharing that information. Incredible. I'm fascinated. So I also think that the AI, you know, the quality of what you put into it is going to, you know, depend the prompts you use is so important. Like you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. It only does what you tell it. So that's a big thing.
I think that's huge. There's already, I mean, a ton of YouTube videos I've watched on how to generate responses you want by having better prompts from like AI engineers and people who know how it's set up. I already use a plugin that was created for GPT-3, the chat GPT model for GPT-3, now on GPT-4. It's like I think it's AIPRM is the name of it. And I don't use all of it, but there's a lot of different ways that they've created really complex prompts for writing articles, creating outlines, doing strategy, all of this other stuff for SEO. And they've kind of taken the knowledge of here's how to give prompts that get you a better output, you know. But anyway, it's fascinating. But you're right, the prompts that you put in are going to greatly impact what comes out.
Right. So what about taking like, is this a good idea? So I'm eventually going to start doing SEO on my site. We don't do any SEO because we're a marketing agency that does ads. So it's really competitive. Yeah. Is it legitimate to take content from somewhere else, like a competitor, rework that with the AI, add some to it maybe, and you know, try to then maybe personalize it? Is that something you could use that Google would like, or is that something that it's maybe be better off just rewriting yourself? Or is that?
It's so funny. I think it all depends on how much transformation the content goes through. So in a way, a lot of good SEO content, and some people hate it when I say this, but it's true. A lot of SEO content is what Brian Dean of Backlinko calls like skyscraper content, where you look at what's ranking and say, here's the top 10 articles. And then you write an outline for your article saying, here's the topics we need to cover. Here's the questions we need to ask, whatever. And so a lot of content that ranks well it's not regurgitated, but it is communicating similar information in a little bit of a different way. I would say that it might be helpful to use your competitors' content to inspire how you outline. I don't know that I would throw it into a chat bot and rewrite it because I feel like that may not be quite as transformative as using some other methods to write. That's just my personal opinion though, kind of from like also an ethics standpoint. It's not just what works for Google, but to me, it makes more sense to say, hey, like, you know, say you're an agency that works on paid ads. And so you're writing a service about Google PPC services that you offer, right? Like that's the whole point of your page. And so you have different sections on, you know, like who should pay for advertising on Google. What kinds of work do you do with clients who hire you for this service? What does it cost? Like, what's the average ROI? So you can have sections that answer those questions. It's possible to rewrite it, but I think it would have to be quite transformative to stand a chance at ranking, especially because that is like wildly competitive. It's so funny, but like as a marketing agency, SEO is the last thing we are doing. And we literally do SEO for clients, but for ourselves, we don't. Because it's so weird, like how that ends up working out. So that's just my opinion, though. I think it can kind of go a lot of different ways.
Right. Yeah, you're going to have to spend years on trying to rank. It's going to be so hard to competing against other. Okay. All right. Well, this is a short podcast, so we got to move on. I think I could sit here and talk to you for like 2 hours, but that's okay. What other successful people in marketing like yourself would you like to acknowledge that should be on the podcast?
So I was thinking about this a lot because one of the people I would typically suggest is Justin Brooke, who did like your first, I think, episode. And so highly recommend watching his episode for those of you who haven't seen it. But I have a friend, April White. She started an agency called Trust Relations. So it's a PR agency, but she didn't like the concept of public relations. She's, comes from the perspective that it's all about trust building. Like that's what PR is supposed to do, is make sure that you present yourself as a trustworthy brand or a trustworthy influence or voice. And so she's fantastic on podcasts. She's done a TEDx talk, and her agency has grown to, I think, over 20 employees in the last couple of years. So that's pretty significant for most digital marketing agencies that run, 10 or fewer. So yeah, right. I think she'd be great.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, one final question for fun. Tell me the oldest technology you remember using.
Okay, so I could go many directions with this. And my desktop computer, well, not mine, my family's desktop computer that ran on AOL Online and had Windows 3.1 is like the computer I remember using that's the oldest. But when I was in third grade, I had a Neopet. And it was this stupid little thing, like with a little horrible screen now compared to what we're used to, with a little animal, and I had to like feed it and let it sleep and play with it and stuff. It was such a challenge to keep that stupid thing alive. And I think like parents used it to try and get their kids not to like try to take care of real pets. But I think my little Neopet is like the earliest tech that I actually used on a regular, like day-to-day basis.
Yeah, that trend lasted like for about 5 years or so. I remember that.
It did. It was like a thing for a little while there.
Yeah. I should reinvent that and sell it. They kind of have something like that already, though. I think. I don't know.
I think I was watching a YouTube video the other day of just somebody that does commentary videos that I like, and she was talking about how she actually still has a Neopet. And her husband was like, "What do you mean?" And like, apparently Neopet still has a website, and you can still keep a Neopet alive, but it's all through their website. Like, it's not a device anymore, which was kind of what made it fun, was the keychain device,
Right. Oh man, there also used to be Pet Rocks. I remember that one at some point. I watched a documentary on that. It was fascinating. The owner. It's a whole. I can't remember where I saw that. It seems like I want to say Netflix. I don't know, but anyway. All right. Well, we're going to close here. Rebecca, thanks for jumping on. I really do appreciate it. This is the Life of a Marketer podcast. We air our episodes Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 something. Like, we don't put it right at 11. You can catch us on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. Like and subscribe, please, so that we can get more people to watch it. We also release it on YouTube. So if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, then when it gets released, you can watch. Thanks so much once again, Rebecca.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye.